celebrating 48 years on the air. Award-winning Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, the feds expand milk testing in the wake of more bird flu outbreaks. Plus, as the incoming president meets with leaders abroad, continuing concern about his tariff agenda. In Southern gardening, non-traditional colors for an old Christmas favorite. And we travel back in time once again, Christmas in Mississippi, more than 2 decades ago. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Great to have you with us again here on Farm Week. Merry Christmas. Bird flu, once again on the radar. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service recently ordered an expansion of raw milk testing in response to bird flu outbreaks in U.S. dairy herds. APHIS is set to begin expanded testing of the milk supply to better track the spread of bird flu. The Department of Agriculture will test raw milk from dairy silos around the nation. H5N1 bird flu has been spreading in dairy cattle since March. Infectious disease experts have called for expanded testing since the beginning of the outbreak. The first round of testing is scheduled to start the week of December 16th, though some states have already started testing that complies with the requirements. 6 states will be included in the first round of testing. California, Colorado, and Michigan have had infected herds. Mississippi, Oregon, and Pennsylvania have not reported any problems. The CDC has confirmed 58 human cases of bird flu so far in 2024. 2 originated from an unknown source. The rest were traced back to commercial poultry and dairy operations. Continuing concern about Donald Trump's tariff agenda. Attorney Jameson Greer was selected by Trump to serve as U.S. trade representative and has tariff experience. He's also worked on the new version of NAFTA, the USMCA. David Miller has more.
In and amongst picking cabinet nominees like Brooke Rollins for Secretary of Agriculture, President-elect Donald Trump continues to pressure major U.S. trading partners with the prospect of tariffs. Recently, he threatened a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican imports if officials in those countries didn't stop the flow of undocumented workers and block the movement of illegal drugs like fentanyl. That position may have yielded some results. While Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum initially rebuffed the threat, there was a raid over the weekend that stopped more than a ton of fentanyl pills from coming into the U.S., the largest catch of the synthetic opioid in Mexico's history. Last week, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Trudeau said he had an excellent conversation, but it was unclear whether that conversation alleviated the president-elect's concerns. Trump has also threatened the 9-nation BRICS trading group with 100% tariffs on their goods if the 9-nation trading bloc undermines the U.S. dollar. In a Truth Social post, Trump said if they replace what he called the mighty U.S. dollar, they should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful U.S. economy. According to the International Monetary Fund, the dollar represents roughly 58% of the world's foreign exchange reserves, and major commodities like oil and soybeans are still primarily bought and sold using U.S. dollars. Agricultural lobbying groups like the National Farmers Union have renewed their call for Trump to be careful in taking what they call drastic trade measures against China. The NFU is concerned that a renewed tariff war could jeopardize the financial health of family members who suffered significant losses in the last tariff war. Last month, the National Corn Growers Association and the American Soybean Association warned against reigniting a tariff war with China. The conclusion of a study funded by both groups revealed that exports could be diverted to other nations, but there was not enough demand from the rest of the world to offset the major loss of soybean exports to the Middle Kingdom. The Biden administration kept many of the tariffs in place that were launched by Trump during his first term. Late last week, China's Ministry of Commerce said escalating trade controls on Chinese companies will harm economic relations between China and the United States. This week, Chinese officials banned the export of rare minerals to the U.S. that are used to make weapons and semiconductors in what may be a preview of things to come if Trump puts new tariffs in place.
The American Farm Bureau Federation said in a recent statement that it believes negotiations rather than tariffs should be used to solve trade issues. It's concerned about export markets for American producers going soft.
And speaking of the Farm Bureau, recently the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation held its annual convention. MSU President Dr. Mark KEENUM spoke at that meeting and reiterated the partnership between the states, producers, and the university. That presents an opportunity for everyone.
But our global population is growing so rapid that it's estimated that by 2050, that's just 25 years from now, a quarter of a century, we're going to have 10 to 10.5 billion people on our planet. So in the next 2+ decades, we got to figure out how we're going to feed another 2 or 2.5 billion people that are going to be coming to a seat at our global dinner table. And we can't feed everyone adequately today. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a challenge. That's an issue for all of us. All of us in agriculture who care about this world, care about our future, but it's also an opportunity for those of us and you in agriculture. And that's where universities like Mississippi State University, leading institutions of research focused and committed to doing all we can in research and technology and innovation to help meet the needs of the future. And that's what we're engaged in at our university. Yes, what we do, we want to help our Mississippi farmers, but we know by helping Mississippi farmers, we're going to be helping farmers all across this country and around the world. Our university is a powerhouse, juggernaut university when it comes to research. This past year, our scientists and researchers generated more than $320 million in research. We're a top 100 research university. We generate more than half of all the research dollars generated in this state, our one university, which means that all the other universities and colleges and the medical center combined are less than half of all the research. We are a powerhouse, and agriculture is a big part of our research efforts at Mississippi State, more than $100 million and growing a year.
This was Farm Bureau's 102nd annual meeting. KEENUM emphasized that the state of Mississippi is ranked number 4 in the nation in high-performance supercomputing capacity.
On the lighter side, poinsettias are well known as the plant of choice for the Christmas holiday, but not everyone knows that there are other colors besides this deep red. Here's Eddie Smith with a few other possibilities this season.
Today's Southern Gardening is at the MSU South Mississippi Branch Experiment Station in Poplarville, Mississippi. This year, there are 60 different varieties of red, white, and non-traditionally colored poinsettias growing at the station. Let's look at some of the non-traditionally colored poinsettias.
Orange Glow has bracts, the colorful leaf-like structures that people often mistake for flowers, displaying a striking, warm orange hue with hints of coral or peach, creating a lively, sunlit effect that stands out among holiday decorations. Christmas Beauty Pink Poinsettia is a charming and delicate twist on the traditional holiday plant, featuring soft pastel pink bracts that add a gentle pop of color. Its pink bracts often have subtle colored veining, giving them a layered, almost watercolor-like effect that enhances the plant's visual appeal. The lighter pink hue contrasts gracefully with the poinsettia's dark green foliage, creating a beautiful blend of colors that's perfect for a softer holiday look. One of my favorites, Autumn Leaves, is a beautiful and unconventional variety, known for its warm, earthy tones that invoke the colors of fall. Its bracts range from soft peach to a rich amber, and even hints of apricot, creating a gradient effect reminiscent of autumn foliage. Some bracts may also display subtle hints of pink or coral, adding depth and dimension to the plant's overall appearance.
Look for these and other gorgeous poinsettias at your local garden center this holiday season. I'm Eddie Smith, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but stick around. Coming up in our Farm Week feature, another trip back in time, perfect for the holidays. This time, we go all the way back to the year 2000. Producer Brian Utley strolls through Old McDaniel's Christmas Tree Farm, photographs hand-painted ornaments at Noah's Art, and snags a sweet treat at Nandy's Candy. Holiday traditions from years gone by, three small southern businesses through the lens of a longtime extension producer. That's coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith, and their right to make their own plans and arrive at their own decisions, and their ability and power to enlarge their lives and plan for the happiness of those they love. I believe that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. That these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations, and their faith. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance toward the views of others. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Time for the market report. Prices still rising.
Especially in row crops, even though they've still got some catching up to do overall. We'll get into it, but first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then some new data on cattle prices and what's moving the markets. And finally, we talk with Extension row crop economist Dr. Will Maples on how things look right now and what could be around the corner. So, markets closed the week trending up. Row crops got the best of it while livestock a mixed bag. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, sugar, up over half a cent, a near 3.25% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, lumber, down 19.5 bucks, an over 3.25% decrease from the previous week. So, we've seen cattle prices wax and wane this year, mostly staying up due to herd rebuilding, an issue we've been talking about all year. Some new reports reveal how well that rebound is coming and shows us just how much cattle prices have risen, along with some new reasons. According to David P. Anderson, livestock marketing specialist at Texas A&M University, both calf and feeder cattle prices have risen due to rain issues, less calves on the market, and potentially import restrictions on Mexican cattle due to recent screwworm detections in Chiapas state. In the last month, lightweight calf prices have risen $30 per hundredweight. 500 to 600 pound steers are up $20 per hundredweight, and 700 to 800 pound feeders are up $80 per hundredweight in the southern plains. A lessening of drought conditions seems to have lent a hand, with recent rains boosting late pasture grazing along with pond and tank water. That being said, less cattle on hand still affecting prices. According to Kenny Burdine from the University of Kentucky, recent cheaper feed prices have allowed the herd to continue its rebound from the culling several years ago. They've also encouraged farmers to push their feeder cattle to higher weights. As a result, projections show a slight increase in beef production this year, despite slaughter down nearly 3.5%. In the row crop market, it's a pretty slow time of the year post-harvest in the U.S., and attention being given to the Brazilian crop. I spoke with MSU Extension row crop economist Dr. Will Maples to get his thoughts on what we're seeing maybe in store for next year.
Yeah, so we're really just kind of in that time of the year where we've got a good handle on what the supply is looking like for the U.S. crop. We've got soybean harvest pretty much wrapped up, corn harvest wrapped up, cotton's getting wrapped up. USDA, as far as their monthly WASDE supply and demand estimate reports, they don't move supplies a lot right now just because we got a good handle on what yield is, the market kind of see what supplies is. So this time of year is just a pretty quiet time when it comes to major reports shifting supplies.
So that would mean that this is normal for this time of year. This is not an unusual thing to see.
Yeah, so it's pretty normal. So we know what U.S. is doing. Market's focusing more towards Brazil now, especially with soybeans. We haven't really seen a lot of weather issues with the Brazilian crop so far as they've gotten through the planting season on this new soybean crop. So there's not been any shocks to the market with that currently over the last few weeks. It's just looking like another large, above average Brazilian crop at the moment, which is, kind of keeping markets down, keeping things pretty flat.
And that's pretty interesting considering that we do have an abundance of stocks as it is right now, and yet it looks like maybe the crop this year looked like it turned out pretty good, and next year's might turn out pretty good too.
Yeah, so if you look at the U.S. soybean crop and corn crop, we had two really good crops. If you look at soybeans globally also, though, we're sitting at record high just global soybean stocks. With Brazil producing more year over year, there's just a lot of soybeans out there at the world level, which is, another factor we see that's keeping prices lower.
Well, speaking of global things in general, so with this oncoming administration, there's been a lot of talk about tariffs, and we've seen how that impacted agricultural last time. So what do we expect to see in the future if these tariffs go into effect in agriculture?
There's a lot of speculation now of these tariffs, what's going to happen. We saw more news this week about tariffs going on in Mexico and Canada, and we are seeing some interesting things in like the corn export market to Mexico. It has really picked up the last month or so, export sales of corn to Mexico, and kind of the idea is we think Mexico might be go ahead and buying up now just in case of any type of tariffs going into effect later on. But really what we are concerned with is any of the retaliatory tariffs, especially coming back from China. Because our major exports to China are ag goods. So that's just what they can hit us with. If we place tariffs on imported steel or electronics or anything like that from China, they have to hit us back with something that we actually sell to them, which unfortunately for the U.S. is mainly soybeans and pork, corn, ag commodities. So any type of retaliatory tariffs, as we saw in 2018, could have a drastic effect on our markets. Last time was a 25% tariff on soybeans. That's just basically an extra 25% tax on consumers to buy those soybeans from the U.S.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets. We're in a slow time market-wise, but with an upcoming administration leaving room for uncertainty, things could get interesting. Mike?
Thanks, Zach. And now that trip down candy cane memory lane that we promised you. The story you're about to watch originally aired on December 7th, 2000. It begins with an introduction by former Farmweek anchor Artist Ford.
The Christmas season is the biggest time of year for most retailers, but it's even more important to small business owners who depend on the holidays for a large portion of their yearly income. Farmweek visited recently with 3 small businesses that specialize in items traditional to the holiday season, from chocolate candy to hand-painted ornaments and, of course, Christmas trees. Brian Utley tells us more.
Traditions play an important role for many people during the holiday season, whether it's shopping on the day after Thanksgiving or placing Christmas presents under the tree. Each year, thousands of Mississippians follow the tradition of selecting a Christmas tree for their home. The search takes many of them to tree farms like Old McDaniel Christmas Tree Farm in McAdams. Tommy and Jonelle McDaniel manage 10 acres of land with approximately 8,000 Carolina Sapphire, Leyland Cypress, and Virginia Pine Christmas trees. Jonelle says that no matter which tree a customer chooses to have cut down, they can be sure of how well it's been taken care of.
When you walk up to the Christmas tree, we want somebody to really like this Christmas tree, so we work all year to make every tree look the very best that it can.
To further ensure satisfaction, each tree is shaken out to remove any loose needles and trimmed to the exact specification of each customer. Jonelle also makes several beautiful varieties of Christmas wreaths that many of their customers purchase to decorate their homes. The McDaniels have been selling trees for 6 years now, but it took 5 years before that to build up enough supply to start selling. Although they work all year long, their success is measured during the 4-week period after Thanksgiving. Tommy McDaniel says the job takes the patience and determination of a farmer.
A Christmas tree farmer has to be, or just like any other farmer, it has to be something they love. If you love it, you can stay with it and enjoy it and make money. But if you've got to really be dedicated.
Of course, buying a Christmas tree is just the first step. The fun part is getting to decorate it. For that, we visit Noah's Art in Jackson to take a look at their hand-painted decorative Christmas balls. John and Leanne Brandon run the business out of their home, offering a variety of painted ornaments and handmade ceramic dinnerware. They're in their busiest time of year, with Leanne painting new ornaments each day to fill their holiday orders.
Right now, it'll make or break your year because that's the bulk of what we do. From August to December 24th, we're pretty busy around here.
Many of their customers are florist and specialty shops like Daisy a Day in Jackson. The business is only a year and a half old, but the demand for orders has led Leanne to quit her job with the United Way and go full-time with Noah's Art. It's also called for the hiring of an additional employee, Terry Boyd. The Brandons hope that by starting collector's editions, like the Excelsius Birth Collection, customers will come back for new ornaments each year.
It has the baby Jesus and the gifts that were brought. Then we have Mary and Joseph in the stable. We have another one of the shepherds with the sheep with the star. And then we have the heralding angel, which foretells the story to the shepherds.
Making the transition from a seasonal business to a year-round one will depend heavily on her husband, John. In his job with the Mississippi Development Authority, he helps people start small businesses.
Part of the fun of this is what I preach at work, does it really work at home? So we've tried to apply the things that we talk to small businesses about across the state, and certainly we use every available resource that's out there.
Our last stop is also in Jackson for another holiday favorite, chocolate candy. Nandy's Candy offers an assortment of fine chocolate truffles, divinity, fudge, and much more. Nancy King says her business kicks into a higher gear during any holiday season, but especially Christmas time, which accounts for about 1/3 of her income.
In the last month, I've probably worked 6 to 7 days a week because we're getting ready and we're gearing up. And people are like, well, what about your life? Well, when you're in season, I don't have a life. My life is Nandy's Candy.
Where Noah's Art is a relatively new business, Nandy's Candy has been in business for 20 years. King attributes some of her success to the high-quality grade of chocolate she uses to make her candy. She has also appreciated sound business advice along the way, like that from Virgil Culver at the Extension Services Food and Fiber Center at Mississippi State University.
She pretty well knew what she wanted to do, the direction she was moving in, as do many of the specialty food companies that we work with. And periodically, they just need someone to sit down that has a completely objective perspective to say, am I headed in the right direction? You know, what do you think about this? And to bounce some ideas off and get some recommendations.
Each of these 3 businesses are steeped in holiday tradition and enjoy getting to be a part of someone else's Christmas.
It puts you in the feel of the holiday, the tradition of candy, the tradition of the sugar plums, whether it's in the nursery rhymes or whatever. It's just an integral part of Christmas.
It's a happy time. People that come out here are all happy. They're looking for that perfect tree, and everybody has a different perfect tree.
I really find myself as I paint the balls thinking, oh, I wonder whose Christmas tree this is going to be on. Or it's kind of neat to think that something you create is going to be a part of somebody else's celebration.
From Jackson, I'm Brian Utley reporting.
Always great to look back during the holidays. Well, next week, a special 4-H celebration from Jackson.
The Mississippi Ag Museum, where a unique celebration was held, the honoring of 2 Mississippi men inducted into the National 4-H Hall of Fame. One of them has since passed away, but both were key 4-H leaders and mentors, 2 of just 8 Mississippians in the entire history of that Hall of Fame.
Jonah Holland reports for Farm Week. Join us for this amazing story next time on Farm Week. And before we go, kudos to my Farm Week co-anchor Zach, filled in for Santa himself recently in southern Alabama. Santa was busy getting ready for Christmas, so he lent the reindeer to Zach, who zoomed down to a church in Spanish Fort, Alabama. There he visited with eager kids, said hello, and got all their requests for the big day. Nice job, my friend.
It was an honor and a pleasure to do it.
How about a ho, ho, ho?
Ho, 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 ho. Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas.